Hello, Dread Mechanic here again, for another one of my research and development sort of tutorial build streams. This one is going to be about building more complex vanilla control systems. In the last R&D stream I did, I spoke about how I do the leg controls for vanilla mechs using lights and event controllers to make the various parts of the leg move around. And if we put the wrong sign there, like a fool. We do leg controller sign, that's the one that wants to be there. So, yeah, we've got a series of controllers and lights that move all the individual sections of the leg. And that is our leg control system. So, that light moves that part, that light moves that part, that light moves that part, and you can't really see it in the day, so if I turn the lights off, you can see it a little bit better. So that light triggers that event controller, which moves the appropriate hinge. And we've got the same thing for each side. So then, next after that, we have got the walk control system. And with the walk control system, we have a set of event controllers that are looking at, one of them is looking at one of the lights, and one of them is looking at one of the rotors of the leg. So, the walk controller for each side starts with one controller that's looking at that first leg light, and when that turns on and off, all it does is turn off a series of the leg lights to move the leg in the appropriate directions, so that when we simply turn on and off that first leg light, it moves the entire thing for us. If we stick that in the dark again, you can see the various lights for the different parts of the leg kicking in. That's because the first one is turning off and on some lights and turning off some others, and the second one, when the leg rotor, hey Prestige Reaper, how you doing man? When the leg rotor gets to a certain distance, it will trigger the lights in the other section of the leg and move everything into the correct orientation. And we have one of them for either side. So now, to get a walk cycle, all we have to do is flick those first two lights on and off, and the event controllers will take care of everything for us. And that is just me manually pressing the 3 button and the 5 button on my keyboard to make them work like so. So the next thing we would want to do is to add a layer of automation to that. So we'd want that walk cycle to tick over by itself, without me having to sit there like a divvy pressing buttons. And the easiest way to do that I have found, you can use the precise timer script to make rotors and hinges and things move quicker. Sorry, to make timers count quicker and trigger faster. But the vanilla way that I found of doing that, and basically achieving the same results, is taking another event controller, I'll call that the walk cycle controller, and we will get this event controller to look at this rotor, and we will, it does need to have braking torque on it though, for our purposes. And so, that will look at that, and then that will trigger a timer. Or in fact, we could even do it without any timers at all, maybe. Oh no, we'd want to have a timer in for later, for purposes that will become clear later on. So we'll stick a timer in there, and we will call that simply walk cycle. And so we've got some vague idea of what that rotor is up to. I'm just going to stick that on top. And I might even we don't have centre ones of them, do we? No. I think that road so we know what the front of it is. So, then we can go into walk cycle controls, and the walk cycle timer will quite simply just be the first two leg lights turning on and off. And that is all that needs to be. So now we have that timer that does that by triggering it. You can see the legs moving in a nice little cycle by themselves. So what we want this event controller to do is to look at the angle of this rotor, and from a lot of testing at various RPMs and all sorts of stuff, I've noticed that setting the threshold angle less than 10 or less than minus 10, sometimes it just doesn't pick up. It just won't trigger. Don't know why. But if you stick it above like 20 RPM and the angle threshold is less than 10, it just doesn't trigger. So I stick it at 10. That way, every time the rotor head turns and gets to 10 degrees, it is going to trigger the walk cycle timer. So now we take this rotor and we give it some RPM, and there you go. You'll see that every time it ticks around past 10 degrees it will trigger that walk cycle, and then you can adjust the speed of that step by increasing the rotor speed. So if we stick that to 40 RPM, that seems to be a nice reasonable speed. There we go. We've now got an automated way of getting that to tick over. And we have got multiple ways of making it stop if we want to. So we can either turn that off, or turn that off. So if we turn off the walk cycle timer, it'll stop ticking over, even though the whole thing's spinning. We can turn it back on, and it'll start again. Turn off the event controller, same effect. Turn it back on, or we can turn off the rotor itself. And again, same effect. So there's 3 different ways there to stop that walk cycle in its tracks. And the one that I usually use is turning off the rotor and turning off the walk cycle timer as just a kind of fail-safe. So now we've got that. Now, we'd probably want a more sensible way of making that work than just turning those on and off. Because that's not massively practical, really, is it? So, if we turn that timer off now, turn the rotor back off. The next thing we would need, realistically, is we would want an on and off switch for our walk mode. So, quickly, I'm just gonna plonk that there. That walk cycle sign, text and images, make it the same as everything else. That gets to be walk. If I can spell properly. Oh, hello, Angry Drunk Opossum. How you doing, man? So then we've got a walk cycle system there. So then we could also, one thing I also like to do is add in controllers that control the whole thing. So these controllers that these signs are sitting on are actually the on-off switch for that entire system. So that is all now off when that sign is off. Turn that sign on. That is all on. It's just an added little thing that you can do with these complex systems if you want to prevent conflict with stuff. Just pop in another event controller, set it to turn everything on and off, build a trigger for it, and you're good to go. Same here. I can turn that off. If I turn all the walk controls off, I can then manipulate the legs to do other things if I want to later on without triggering that stuff. That's just an extra little thing that I do sometimes. So we can have one here quickly. I will just put it. Let's put it there for now. I'll just call it walk cycle controller. So that can be a block on and off. It can be turned and off by that sign. When that sign is turned on and off, we can use it to turn on and off our entire system. So now we can leave all of those things active. Just have that sign to turn it all on and off instead. Yeah, we have that there, that there, that there, and that's all of that. In fact, if we change that to increase velocity. No? I don't think there's a way I can actually read that on there. Oh well, leave it as that. So now we've got one control to turn off the entire system in one go. There you go, we can turn that off. Right, so the next thing you'd want to make this system a bit more user-friendly and vanilla controlled is to add, what I usually do is I create a little system of timers. And I have one that's called walk on, one that is walk start, and then one that is walk off, or stop rather. Walk on, walk start, walk stop. So, we wouldn't always want to have the walk cycle controller active because we might want to do other things with it later on. So what I usually do is break the walk cycle down into a couple of steps. So first one is walk on. That is going to start the entire system. So the first thing that would do for now, in case we encounter any issues later on, would be just to turn that sign on. And turning that on will engage all of those event controllers down there. Bum 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 bum. And then the next thing you want to do as well is, oh actually, no. We want to turn that off first. Because we want our legs to orient themselves in the correct positions. So, first things first, we'll set all of those legs to that, because that should push all of them into the forward position. And then we will have the right leg off, middle one on to keep it straight, and that one off to pitch the foot back. So when we trigger that, it will put the legs into a starting position, like so. And then the next step after that is where we would want the walk start timer to come in. Because if you have those legs move into position and turn on the leg light controls, the walk controls at the same time, it can cause a few issues, so I usually separate it by a second. So we would have walk start turn itself on, and then we'd have walk start itself. So then walk start would turn on the walk controller lights. So if we turn that, turn that off for now. And if we move the leg lights into any old silly position, walk on now should put everything in the right position and turn all of those controllers on. So then, after it turns on those controllers, we would then want it to activate the cycle. So we can just have that flick on. So we'll set all that back off again, turn that off. put the legs into whatever position at the back. We can hit walk on and trigger it again. We'll put leg into the right position. And there you go. It started ticking the walk cycle over automatically. And that will just do its thing. Another thing I usually do with these kind of triggers is I get them to turn themselves off again once they've done all the things that I want them to do, just so they can't accidentally be triggered again later on. So what I usually do is take the timer I'm working on, which is walk start, which is this one here, and in the very, 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 very last slot, page 10, slot 9, I'll get it to turn itself off. So that when that ticks over, it will turn itself off. When we activate the walk on timer, it turns it on and then plays it. And that's the reason I do that. So now, we're walking, we're moving, the legs are doing things by themselves. We would like them to stop and reset. We hit this timer. So the first thing we would need to do is turn off that walk cycle and get that to stop. So we can turn that sign off because it's all connected to that. And then we would need the walk controls to stop because we don't want them interfering. So now if we trigger that, there you go, it's stopped. But it's stopped in a random place. So what we need to do is add a few more controls with these leg lights, because now that that's turned off and that's turned off, there's nothing interfering with these controls here, which are the primary controls for the legs themselves. And if we want them to sit in a default position, or return to a default position when we turn the walk cycle off, we just need to find the right combination with these lights. And that should be something like on, off, and off. On, off, and off. I think that's the correct one. So now we trigger this timer again. It will reset the legs back to that position. There you go, they're nice and flat. Now if we trigger that again, it'll put everything in that position, turn everything on, and then it starts walking. And if we trigger this one, stops and resets everything back to where we want the default position to be. And that is the basis of how I do the walk on and off, basic walk on and off controls. So now that is an on button, and that is an off button, and that is the midway point, essentially. And triggering that one turns everything off, except for those basic controls. And triggering that, we'll put everything into the right position, and get it all ticking over. Right. So then, on top of all that, we can add another event controller and another holo display. And we can call this walk. I think. Cycle. Oh no, that's walk controller. We'll have to call it something else. We'll call it walk on off controller, because that's on and that's a stop. Okay, so we'll call it start stop. That makes a little more sense. You can have walk start stop sign. 180 text and images. Whatever size fits nicely. Walk start stop. How well does that fit? Eh. Make it size 3. There you go. Cool. So now what we can do is we can have that controller again be block switched on and off. We can have that sign be the trigger for it. And we can set this sign up as essentially a nice on and off button for this entire walk control. So the first thing we want to do is turn off the stop block and turn off the start block, or the on block. And the opposite way around, we want to turn them on, trigger and trigger. And now that sign walk controller, walk cycle, walk start and stop. Turn that on and off. Stick that there. Stick that there and stick that there. So now that sign turning on and off is now an on and off button for that entire system. You turn that sign off, it turns off the whole thing. Turn it on, and it sets up the entire sequence. There you go, that's that. So that is an on and off button for that entire walk control. And then on top of that, we might want, well, the whole point of this is we want vanilla control for it. So this is where we can set up yet another event controller. And we will call this walk forward, because we've set up a forward control for now. Walk controller forward. There we go, that makes a little bit more sense. So now that controller is going to be triggered by some thrusters, because they are basically the only blocks we've got that can be read by an event controller and allow us some manual input. So we will call this walk thruster forward control, and that's going to be walk thruster forward override. Because if you don't want to have to turn off the inertial dampeners on your entire grid, the best way around it is to add a second controller and give it a tiny bit of thrust override, and then that way your control thruster that's going to be triggering the event block won't be affected by grid speed changes, gravity, angle, momentum, any of the stuff that makes a thruster kick in by itself. So now we have that. So we've got walk forward controls now. So walk forward is going to be a case of looking at thruster power. I usually stick it at 50% because it's a nice midway point. And then we've pressed the wrong button. I'm a fool. Then we've got these two thrusters, and the only one we want is the control thruster. So when that thruster outputs over 50%, we want to turn on and off the walk, start and stop sign. So we can turn it on and off. And now, if I hit the W key on my keyboard, the whole system kicks into gear. And if I release the W key, it all returns to normal. Yep, that's the whole system ticking over as I'm holding down the forward button. And occasionally it will do things like that, because that is some of the event controllers not stopping and triggering when they're supposed to. So things like that can happen, which is where sometimes you need to put in fail-safes, and they can be worked out. But 9 times out of 10 it will work properly and the event controllers won't freak out and do the wrong thing. Yeah, that's me just tapping that thruster over and over and over. There you go. And yeah, that is pretty much the basics of how you can do a vanilla control system. It does look like a lot of blocks and it can be a little bit complicated. You can compact it down with a bit of ingenuity. These blocks here don't necessarily need to be there. Like, that block there could just be turning these two things on and off. But I thought I'd make it a bit more spread out, so it's a little bit more obvious what's going on in all the separate systems. But yeah, that is pretty much the basis of how I make a vanilla control system for a lot of things. Just building up different layers of controls that can be easily turned on and off and deactivated as needed. And if you don't have all this gubbins on top of here, you can actually squeeze this system down into a single lock space. Actually, you're not going to get anything on top of there because of the rotor head and the rotor insisting on having a 2-block gap, but that can work like that without any clang. From most of the experimenting I've done. Yeah, there you go, that little control system can sit nice and neatly tucked inside your mech or your grid somewhere, so it won't affect other things. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it. And if you wanted to, you could set up other controls in there. You could set up reverse mode as well to have the legs move in the opposite direction. In fact, could we do that? We do that before we bugger off. So we could have another Actually, no, it wouldn't need to be those controls, it would need to be these ones over here. We need a reverse mode and a forward mode. So, let's stick some of them down there. That would be, let's make that walk controller L01 forward. They could all be a forward mode. Take that, and we'll make it reverse. Make that R01 reverse. And that can be R02 reverse. Right, so all of that is turned off. Yeah, that should be pretty easy then. Right, so we've got these reverse controls. So we turn these on, get ourselves in a position where we can see what we're doing a little bit better. So, when so these would be block switched on and off, and this would be the same as the forward controls, just the opposite way around, so that would be leg light L01. Because of the way we've set this up, it's literally just a case of fiddling with light switches until we get the right results. So we're walking in reverse. When that leg is moving in reverse, we would want the second light to turn off when it turns off, because that would lift that leg up. And we would also want that to turn off, I think. So we can have leg light L0. Number... Oh, yes. So, let's set the legs up in the position they'd want to be. There we go. Right. There we go. So that's what we'd want. So then, leg light L02. We want to turn on and off like that. We would not. Yeah, something a bit more like that. So walk reverse. When that would be angle changed, and that would be looking at the leg rotor, the left leg, and say when that gets to less than, what's its max, -5, when it gets to less than 10 degrees, will return that. Now, in fact, that shouldn't need to be there. Actually, leave it there as a failsafe just in case. So, right. There you go. That's the first part. So now all we need to do is finish off that foot. So when the light turns on, the foot light needs to move. Or reverse L01. When we turn that on, let's make that L03. So now, if we do that, there you go, and that's a reverse leg control. I'll just copy and paste those bits and pieces over to the other side, so it's block on and off. It is leg rotor, oh no, hang on, it is leg light R01. That one is angle changed. That will be leg rotor R01. So what did we have there? We had less than 10, so the opposite side, because it's a rotor, will be greater than minus 10. And page 1 is 03 on, 02 off. Leg light. Let's copy and paste that. So 03 on, 02 off. It's on page 2. 03 off. Leg light 03 off. Cool, and then that was literally just that one turning back on. So R02 on. So now the opposite side leg, there you go, has a reverse control. Now, if we want all of this to tie into our walk control system, what we need to do is we need to have a separate walk on and off control, or walk on and walk start control, because walk on currently sets up those lights and sets up those sets up that timer. And then that timer turns on those, right, yeah. That gets to be walk controller forward. Time, dun, 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 dun. Just change a few details. Forward. Forward. There you go, so when that turns on, that will be our forward controls. And then we'll build quickly another event controller down here. Copy that. Copy that. That can be reverse. Copy and paste some details from there. be our reverse sign. Turn this on, stick that around there. What did we put in that text? Just walk control forward. Cool. Okie doke. Walk control. Reverse. Reverse for blue or cyan. Centered. Right. And we've got walk reverse controls, so that can be block on and off. Be the reverse sign. And when that sign turns on and off, it turns on and off these colours. And that one's fine. Right. Cool, so that's leg controls, walk cycle, walk start and stop. Sign for that. And we've got a sign for that. So we can turn on and off the walk reverse controls at will. Right, so to add that into this increasingly complicated system, need another couple of timers. That we walk forward on. That we walk forward start. We will copy all that. Paste that there. Call that reverse. Do all that. Paste that there. Call that reverse. Now we just need to basically copy what we did with that and start off a separate set of reverse controls, because it's easier to make a separate set rather than trying to integrate forward and reverse. Oh, hello, Jeremy Wright. I am currently demonstrating how to make vanilla control systems with all the new event controller blocks, and how to do the kind of complicated stuff that a lot of people do with scripts using vanilla blocks, for people that don't like scripts or can't use scripts. And this little stream has just been the steady progress of adding layers of controls to make it all a nice, smooth, vanilla process. So right now we are setting up the reverse walk controls to sort of mirror the forward controls. So let's do the opposite with these legs. So we'll do the left leg will be off, on, off, and the right leg will all be on. Leg, light. So that can be off, on, off. That can be on, and on. Oh, you tried making the Palm script, and that must have been interesting. Yeah, trying to replicate script functions vanilla, it can be quite difficult, but with some of the stuff the event blocks can do, some of the workarounds are surprisingly easy. So that'll be that, and then the next one is start, and that's about it. So that could be that. And we've got rev start, so that will turn on and that will start. And then forward start was quite simply those lights turning on, those controllers turning on and the walk cycle turning on. So this way round, we will have that sign turn on, and then have the cycle sign turn on. That was all we needed to do. And the last thing is to just make this block turn itself off to prevent any conflict later. Now we should have a functioning reverse system. So if we turn all of those blocks, we turn the whole thing off, turn that on, trigger now, puts everything in that position, and there you go, it starts walking in reverse. So now we need to add the stop controls for that mode, which is real simple. We can just tuck them into our existing mode already, and the only thing that we should need to do is turn off the walk reverse sign. So if we stick that there, that should do everything for us, and we can now hit the stop button, and there you go. And that is that. So then we would need a manual control for that. So once again, another event controller. That will be walk control reverse. And then we need a thruster for that. Now, if you've already set up the forward controls, you technically only need one override thruster on one axis of movement. So if you've got a forward thruster set up and an override thruster for it, you only need to put one reverse thruster, the reverse mode. You don't need to add a second override controller. So that can do that. So then we've got copy that, paste that onto there. We can call this one reverse control. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your messages there, guys. Nice, human jaws, thank you. It pretty much is just a bunch of ones and zeros. What's that you're saying, Jeremy? Sorry, I haven't got my glasses on. Event block turn on off thrusters. Have the AI block go down. Use time to turn on AI block and fly, so it would slowly come back to the ground. Ooh, that must have been fun and complicated to try and program. Oh yeah, because is the PAM script the auto mining thing? I don't really use that much, but the radial wheel. It might be build info. Just quickly, I'll just pop out and show you the mods. Yeah, man. There we go. R&D, edit settings, do mods. Because I can't remember which one it's from. It's either Build Vision or Build Info. I can't remember because I use both of them in conjunction together. So it's either one of those two. But the radial wheel thing for it is, it makes things very easy. Yeah, you smash the ship to pieces. I'm sure you would, trying to work out a vanilla way of doing something like that. Yeah, no worries, Human Shores. Yeah, it'll be one of those two. I can't remember which one it is. But like I said, I use both of them in conjunction on pretty much all of my games on Space Engineers because they're super helpful. The only thing I'm annoyed about is the guy that made the mod removed the Air League Finder function and made that a separate mod, and I keep forgetting to add that as a separate mod into my games. But back to where we were. So we've got a reverse controller and a reverse thruster, and we don't need an override thruster for it. So, our reverse system. So this controller, what controller reverse? What on? Hang on, we didn't name it, did we? Oh no, what reverse? Oh yeah, that's why, because I've done it with small font. That's why I was confusing myself. That's the one. So this controller is going to be thruster powered, 50% greater than. It's going to look at that reverse thruster, and when that reverse thruster kicks in, it is simply going to turn on and off the reverse walk sign. So now, if we hit the reverse key, oh, hang on. We haven't actually set up the... Hang on. Wait, what have I done wrong here? Forward, what's that? That is that on and off. That sign on and off. That's doing that, that's kicking in, that's forward. And reverse controls are... Ah! I think I forgot something. Hang on. Walk on. Do. Walk reverse start. Walk reverse start turns on. Turns on walk cycle. There you go. Why that? I'm not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Oh, hang on. There we go. Something has gone screwy. There we go. Now it's turned off. Oh, sorry, more messages I didn't see while I was getting confused by things. I don't really play online too often, just because I'm busy doing a lot of other things a lot of the rest of the time. What's that? Human Shores, you're just getting into automation. Yeah, it's slow. It's a slow go. Just take your time with it is the thing that I tried. more often than not. And another good thing to keep in mind is copy and paste things. Like, don't be afraid to turn creative tools on and like copy and paste an idea, just in case you're about to try something that might completely break everything. Right, so why is this not working the way I want it to? Walk cycle, start, stop, sign. Oh, because I added an extra thing, didn't I? Yeah. Right, yeah, I get it. Walk, start, stop, sign. Right, that'll be why. Cycle stop. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Confused myself now. Oh, yes. That's what I'm missing. So, we forgot to add this in for the reverse control. There we go. Make that. So that can be reverse. Copy all. That can go there. That can be reverse. So, turn that on. That can be that way. That can be that. That can be size 3, I think. Yeah, size 3. Then we can stick that in there, make that reverse. Cool, there we go. Right, so that's that, and that is that. Turn that on, that'll kick in the entire thing. Turn off, turns off the entire thing. We want the same results with this one down here. So, walk, start, stop, forward controller is forward and on and stop. That one will be lock on and off. That one was controlled by the walk, start, stop sign. Reverse, that's the one. So then we've got walk reverse. We want that to stop there and turn on and trigger there, and then walk stop. We want that to trigger there, turn on there and turn off there. So now turning on this sign should kick in the reverse mode. There we go. And that returns to normal. Turning on that sign kicks on the forward mode. And the legs move in the opposite direction. Cool. Right. That was what I was missing. Oh. Ah, you see there's a little bug in there. What are you doing? Why aren't you? Why are you turning on automatically? There you go. Something screwy was going on in there. So the walk reverse controller. That thrust, greater than 50. Oh, sorry. I didn't see the rest of your messages there. If only it wasn't my first time doing this. Yeah, even if you've done it a million times, it can still get confusing. So it is always, like I said, it's a good idea to name things in a way that makes sense to you. And if you get lost, just slowly trace your way back through things, like I did just then. I got confused for 10 minutes, and now I'm back to where I was. So where was it? Oh, look, I'm lost again. No, I'm joking. Where am I? Yeah, it's easy to get confused sometimes. Yeah, so walk forward controller is that on and off. So the walk reverse controller, which is this one, wants to be the new start stop reverse sign on and off. So there you go. Now when I hit the reverse key, and you can see that little thruster firing, it is doing the reverse walk animation. And if I let go, it goes back to default position. Now if I hit the forward key, it goes into the forward animation. There you go. That is reverse mode. That is the system turning off. That is forward mode. Let's get in a slightly better position. See the whole thing ticking over. There we go. So, forward thruster firing. Sometimes the feet might do weird things, but the system should correct itself. Step by step. I see what you did there, man. But yeah, that's forward mode. And that's reverse mode. And that is literally just controlled by those two little thrusters at the back. Turn all the lights off. You can see the whole system ticking over a bit better. You can see all the leg lights flashing to make the legs move. That's pretty much it. And that is more or less how this thing works. Pretty much the basic version of how this walks around. He's got a few more controls in him to help him stay balanced, but yeah, that is a vanilla forward walk control, and that is a vanilla reverse walk control, and it is pretty much the exact same principle as what I've just shown you there. So we've got a little set of controls to directly control the legs. We've got a little set of controls to do the forward and reverse walking modes. We've got a little set of controls to make the walk cycle tick over. And then we've got a set of controls to turn off either reverse mode or forward mode. And then finally we've got a set of controls to manually control all of that stuff. And that's it. I'm going to leave that one there, because that's about as much as I can really say about that. But yeah, there's some ideas for people to play with. And like I said before, you can condense these systems down into fewer blocks with a little bit of clever thinking, but it's way too complicated for me to be bothered trying to do on a stream. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I will leave that one there, because I want to go and play something else for a bit. So thank you for watching, thank you for chatting, and hopefully you all learned something. So I will see you all next time, and goodbye for now.